Oh, it looks different when I start filming. New phone, new you. Oh, hooray. And my hands don't work. Guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry about the shadows and the possible sound of the AC unit. It is hot outside and I can't turn that off right now. I turned the fan off. That's as good as it gets. Today I'm going to go ahead and do the AuthorTube Rip It or Ship It tag, which I believe Cassie over at Castiel actually created herself. I'll put her link to her video down below. Basically, what you do is you take some writing tropes, you mix them up together. I have this handy dandy wine glass with some tropes in it. And then you decide whether they're going to be together or not. So, why don't we just go ahead and jump right in and get started. So I'm going to pull two tropes out of this cup here and put them together and see if they would make an interesting pairing. We've got Mad Scientist and the Spock, so the logical, I think that could be interesting because the Spock trope would be more of a logical, like what is and is not is what's seen kind of view, and the Mad Scientist would definitely work in a different kind of realm. So I think that could be a lot of fun, especially with a female Mad Scientist. I think that'd be pretty interesting. So I'm gonna ship these. I did take some of Cassie's ideas, but I also got some of my own, so feel free to grab some of mine if you're interested in throwing them into yours. We've got Wild Child and the Jock. I don't know that this would be that interesting. This feels kind of like every YA novel I've ever read. Is like one of them is so different than the other, they come from two different worlds kind of thing. That's really not my gig. I'm gonna rip it. Tomboy and punk rock musician. I suppose that could be kind of interesting depending on what kind of tomboy you're talking about. And I suppose you could go punk rock musician female and then like the male version of a tomboy, which would be an effeminate female, or an effeminate male, I would assume. I'm not entirely sure. That could be interesting, but quite frankly, I'm still gonna rip it. Still not terribly interested. I feel like that one's kind of boring. I feel like I wouldn't get a whole lot out of it. I also tend to read horror, just to keep that in mind when I'm doing this. I'm not a couples kind of person as a general rule. Alright, next pairing we have The Rebel and The Lonely Vampire. That could be kind of interesting. Usually we have like a demure person and The Lonely Vampire. I think that's probably the most common that I see. Kind of like he pulls her out of her shell or vice versa, whatever. But it's this, you know, this demure, quiet person. But I think maybe a rebel with a lonely vampire might be interesting because they might be more interested in the vampire being vampy and changing them over, and the lonely vampire might not be interested in any of those things. So let's go ahead and ship it. Nexties. The Shy New Kid, The Tortured Werewolf. You know, my life's been difficult because I'm different werewolf. And The Shy New Kid. That could be interesting, but I feel like that might be a little overdone. So the Tortured Werewolf and the Shy New Kid, that seems kind of strange. I think it might be interesting, but I suppose it would kind of depend on, oh, out of focus. I put my face down and go out of focus. I guess it would kind of depend on what kind of werewolf we're talking about. So let's go ahead and ship them. Let's give them a shot. Damsel in Distress and The Quiet Bookish Babe. I think that could be really boring. I don't know that they would speak to each other very much. I don't know that either of them would have much to say. I'm gonna rip it. Small Town Farm Boy and The Jester. That could be a lot of fun, having just a, like, jestery kind of stupid character hooking up with a small town farm boy kind of serious character. That could definitely bring out things in both of those characters that you wouldn't necessarily see elsewhere. So I'm gonna ship it. The glass is getting empty. All right, next up, the Gentle Giant and the Girl or Boy Next Door. That could be interesting. I think that the genteelness of both of those tropes might make it a little disinteresting. So I don't even know where we're at. I don't know what I've ripped and what I've shipped, but yeah, I'm gonna rip it. I think it might just be too boring. It might just be two people staring at each other and nicely or something. Big, fun, lovable character, so the overweight, happy person. In the bad boy or the bad girl. That could be very interesting. The kind of big person who is all fun and full of love and wonderful and everybody likes them tends to not have as much romantic encounter in general. But I think the bad boy or bad girl could really bring out some interesting things in that. So I'm gonna ship it. It looks like this is the last one. Wine glass is empty, which is the saddest part of any day. So let's see what we've got here. We've got the Loner and the Absent-Minded Professor. I think those would be kind of difficult to do together because the Absent-Minded Professor would probably be somewhat of a loner in and of himself or herself. However, I think it could be interesting if you put the right spin on it, especially in the right kind of world, not necessarily in our world, but in a kind of more fantastical world, it might be more interesting. So I'm gonna go ahead and ship it. Thank you, Cassie, for coming up with the Rip It or Ship It tag. I actually hadn't ever seen one on BookTube because I'm not a huge BookTube viewer. You know, there's a couple people I watch, but for the most part, I watch OtherTube videos, or actual, like, television shows and stuff like that. So I had not seen that before. It was a lot of fun. It was something different. It was definitely way different from what I typically do. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget I've got all kinds of stuff down in the description bar down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every Sunday. However, I do want to update you guys real quick. Sunday, October 7th, I will not have an update video. I will also not have a Friday live stream. For my boss and I are going to a conference in New Orleans, and so I'm just going to be out of town. So I'm just going to take that time off and enjoy New Orleans, where I've never been before, and see kind of what there is to see there and not worry too much about my AuthorTube channel. If I get a chance to pre-record a couple of videos, maybe I'll throw some up, but I don't want to guarantee anything because I haven't really made a big plan. I'm horrible at planning. I'm really discombobulated when it comes to my real life. So I need to kind of work on that, but that's a whole different story. Anyway, that kind of does it for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to go to all of the stuff down in the info bar down below, and I'll see you guys all next week. Bye. I feel like that's kind of how I have a shadow. It looks like I have eyeshadow all the way across the bridge of my nose. I don't though.